you can share information with people. They'll pick it up and they'll turn around and share it with other people as well. Or they'll come to the zoo, they'll experience that brand, and they'll turn around and share it with other people. And so you reach these audiences by delivering your brand and sending out your message and giving people something that they can talk about.
Welcome once again, everyone, to the Destination Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Stoker, and we've got another great episode for you today. We're really trying to kind of diversify the content that we provide for you guys, and I'm excited about the guest that we're bringing on today. He has a really unique role and a unique business that fits inside of the tourism ecosystem, and I really believe that tourism is not just one organization, but when you're within a destination, there are dozens and dozens, and in some cases hundreds and hundreds of businesses that make up the brand of a destination, the identity of a destination. And our guest today is part of an organization that exists within several destinations. And I thought when I met him, I thought, man, this would be a great thing to expose to our listeners and have you guys hear what the dynamic is like for Jim, and then, take those into your destination. So I want to welcome Jim Bartoo, who is the Director of Marketing for the Nashville Zoo. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I've been listening to your shows all the way up to this point, so I'm really excited to pitch in.
Great. Well, we're excited to have you. I think like I said earlier, it's kind of a different angle on tourism today, but there's so many destinations that have a zoo. I think there's a lot of zoos that probably get either a little looked over or underutilized within a destination, and I think we'll be able to explore that a little bit within our conversation today.
Sure, yeah.
But I guess we're getting a little ahead of ourselves because I've got a question that I like to ask everybody that comes on the podcast, and I'd love to hear your answer. If you could go anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Oh, wow. Well, from listening to your podcast, it sounds like I need to go to Utah. Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff happening out there, so I got to get out there and see that.
I don't want to brag, Jim, but I'm a little biased, but I feel like we live in the best state of the union, especially for tourism. There's everything you can imagine except a beach is here.
It sounds awesome. There's so many places. I would love to go to New Zealand. I would love to go to Thailand. My daughter really wants to go to Singapore, and that would be kind of cool. So,
oh wow,
Greece is also, I'm interested in that as well. So I'm a diver as well, so I'd like to go to Palau, which is down in the Pacific. So kind of lots of different places I'd like to be able to explore.
Okay, you said Palau.
Yeah.
Now, where exactly is that?
It's near Thailand. It's a little series of islands that are just kind of tucked out there in the South Pacific, and they're known for these giant clams that are out there in the reef that have a very vibrant muscle pattern on them. When they open their clamshell, you can see in and all these different beautiful hues of colors that are inside there. So that's kind of what they're known for, but very pristine reefs that are out there and a lot of untouched stuff.
Wow. How long have you been diving?
I have been diving for 30 years on and off. When you have kids, we kind of moved away from it because we had other destinations that we wanted to hit when your kids are younger, and diving isn't really part of that. So we're kind of getting back to it now. Our kids are now certified, and we're looking at a Caribbean trip maybe next year or this coming summer. So we're kind of getting back into it now. Never been to Palau, but I've been down to Cayman. I went to Turks and Caicos back before Turks and Caicos really started getting its tourism act together. And that was fantastic. We were out on Grand Turk, and there was nothing out there except this old renovated salt plantation that was renovated into like a B&B and a dive shop. And they had one restaurant there, and you would walk into this restaurant, and they had no menu, and you'd sit down, and the chef would come out and say, "Let me tell you what I caught today." And then And then he'd go through that, and you'd say, "Well, that sounds good. Let's have that." And then he would cook these amazing meals with this fresh fish.
Wow, that and that place has transformed then. I mean, that
Oh yeah,
you hear about Turks and Caicos all the time now when you're talking about great destinations to go to.
right. Yeah, Provo's like a huge destination. When we were there, it was still kind of finding its feet. And it was interesting to see. I'd love to go back and see how it's changed. Cozumel's the same way, off the coast of Mexico. We were there years and years ago when there were still areas of that island that you could walk down, and there wasn't really a whole lot around you, and there were iguanas everywhere. And now, from what I understand, it's a solid strip mall all the way from coast to coast. So, but that
Well,
happens.
I've never been to Cozumel, so I can't speak to what it's like now. But man, you've been traveling for quite a while, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm old.
Well, I think it's got to be cool for you. I mean, I've got kids, right? I've got three little girls and then a boy due next month, and my oldest is 8, and so the idea of scuba diving with my kids just doesn't even seem attainable at this point.
Yeah,
And so it's got to be fun for you to have seen them kind of go through the children years and move on to where you can do adult things with your adult kids. That's got to be kind of fun.
yeah, and you introduce them to the things that you like to do when they're young, and they tend to adopt those things and embrace them. At least ours did as they got older. So, when they were young, we loved to go to creeks and just kind of wander through creeks in our bare feet and turn over rocks and look for crawdads and salamanders and things like that. And they still love doing stuff like that. So it kind of ingrained in them to get out into nature and really explore it and look deeper than just walking on a pathway and looking into the forest, but seeing the microcosm that's kind of under your feet and all around you.
That's really cool. Yep, that's got to be a lot of fun. Got to be rewarding to see them still interested in those things as they get older too.
Yeah, it is. It's very rewarding. You'll get there.
Well, let's dive in today, Jim. I
Okay.
want to hear a little bit about your background and how you ended up at the Nashville Zoo.
Sure. I went to school a long time ago, majored in advertising, and was looking actually for ad agency work. And I wasn't really having a whole lot of luck landing a job. And I was eventually picked up by a local TV station to help with their promotions. I eventually made my way over to TV news and started producing television news. And I did that for about 3 years. And it really taught me a lot about how the news process works and how you take information from the creation of history to project that out into the world. I met my future wife in that process, and we both decided to
Now, when you say
move.
future wife, are you saying the one you're going to marry or the one you
Yeah,
did marry?
the one I wound up marrying. Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. Yeah, I introduce her as my first wife. Yes, I still introduce her as my first wife. She loves that.
Oh yeah, it sounds like you like the doghouse. I try to
it's
stay away from there.
it's nice out there. Anyway, so we met at a TV news station, and she got a job up in Columbus, Ohio, working for a TV news station up there, and I went up with her, and we got married shortly after that. And again, I started looking for agency work, still really not having a lot of luck. And I started working at the zoo up there, the Columbus Zoo, in their
Okay.
guest services department. So I was ringing in school groups and renting strollers, and I drove the train around for a while, and I I was the first mate at a boat. They drove up and down this river that's right next to the zoo. It was for someone that has a bachelor's in communications. It was probably the best summer postgraduate that I had ever spent in my life. It was just fantastic. And I learned lots of different things while I was there about the zoo. I also found out that they had a marketing department, which I had absolutely no idea that zoos had marketing departments. And they needed someone who could edit video.
Okay.
Specifically, on a 3/4 inch deck, which was the video process that I learned when I was in TV news. This was before nonlinear editing. This was still when we were doing tape to tape. So I learned how to do a lot of that in news, and they hired me to come in and basically organize their video library. And this is the zoo where Jack Hanna is from, and Jack Hanna is a big
Oh, wow.
national animal guy, and
Got
so
a
they had,
TV show and
yeah,
everything,
right,
right?
right, yeah, and he's kind of his own personality, and he had, they had a ton of different uh, video of him all over the place. And so I organized a lot of that. I put it up around grounds, and people could watch different types of video of animals giving birth, or animals displaying some kind of uh, display that they were doing, or vocalizing in some way. And so I kind of helped the zoo move into the video realm of things by way of communication. And then from there, I worked my way into running events and learning about sponsorship and learning more about marketing. And eventually, we had a daughter along the way, wanted to move closer to home. So we targeted Nashville. My wife is from St. Louis and I'm from Chattanooga. So Nashville was a nice place right in between. My wife was a health reporter at the time, so we needed a place that was a big healthcare town, and Nashville is definitely a healthcare town. So
Okay.
we targeted coming to Nashville to really put down roots. And it just so happened at the time the Nashville Zoo was looking for a marketing and public relations director. And I got the job. And I've been here since. And come October, it'll be 20 years. Same
20
job,
years.
same title. It's just that the types of work that I have done over the years has changed.
Well, and you've seen a lot of change over that time. I mean, you were getting into cutting video at the Columbus Zoo, right? And moving in over to the Nashville Zoo. Video in and of itself has changed. The way video is used has changed.
Yep.
Do you want to talk a little bit about some of those changes that you've seen over the years and how you've been able to adapt and stay current?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, when I started in Nashville, social media wasn't a thing, right? I mean, the internet was there, but it wasn't really booming. We had a very basic website, but Facebook didn't exist. Um, I remember specifically saying, "Hey, we need to go ahead and sign up for this MySpace thing because I think it's going to be huge." So we did stuff like that, and we would sign up for it because we're thinking, "Hey, it looks like a lot of people are starting to get on board with this Facebook thing. Let's go ahead and start it." And we didn't know what we were doing. Nobody knew what Facebook was and the value that it had when you signed up for it. You just started putting stuff out there and seeing what sticks to the wall and seeing what drags people over um, to to their interest on that. And so that's what you're always doing out there, and that's what marketing's all about, is what can we do to get people's attention, right? So we can send our message out. And
Yep.
so as all these social media programs started to develop, we started to just hop on to more and more of these. And eventually it took up so much time that I had to hire people to organize it. And that's when it really started getting strategic, right? What are we going to
Yeah.
do with these pages? What is our goal? What is our objective? What kind of messaging are we trying to send on these, and how are people receiving that? And should we alter that message or direction for that to kind of capitalize and highlight on all of that stuff? So that's changed over the years. Now it's, of course, everybody wants video up on everything.
Yeah.
So we're doing more and more video as we can. Um, we I'm the Because I have a video background. I'm kind of a snob. I want video that's going to be really well produced, and you just don't see a lot of that on social media. A lot of people are shooting vertical phones, and they're
Yep.
just recording whatever's out there and they're putting it up. I'm pretty sure Instagram um, doesn't even take horizontal video, or at least didn't at some point. I was just blown away by that. So I'm learning it as much as anybody else, but that's what's really changed over time, is our ability to reach so many people with so little effort.
Well, I think that says a lot about kind of your ability to adapt over that time that you've been able to stay current. And even though MySpace isn't really a real thing anymore, I mean it
I was
exists,
sure
but
that was going somewhere.
no, but your willingness to jump in and try it, right? And I think that's a lot of what marketing is hey, there's this thing, let's give it a try. A trial and error is so undervalued. I think I've actually been in several meetings where either the client or our team has said, "Oh man, we tried this and it just didn't work. That sucks." And it's like, "No, we learned. You don't
Yeah,
fail. It's either a successful or you learn. Like those are the two different outcomes in marketing."
yeah,
And I just thought, or hearing you talk about that, I think that's probably why you've been able to adapt over time.
right.
You
Well,
talked about several of those changes, and I wanted to ask you before we moved on,
mhm.
which of those changes did you feel like had the biggest impact on your success for the zoo?
um, well, I think the biggest impact that we've had here in terms of marketing and public relations is the earned media, and I truly believe that knowing how the media operates and knowing how they function helps with that. To be able to connect with reporters, know what they need to be able to create a package or a story or whatever it is that they need, and and going out of your way to provide that for them. Answering the phone, dropping what you're doing to be able to provide for that. That earned media is so valuable because it isn't bought. It isn't put in an area that people tend to overlook and blank out on over time. It's the content that people are looking for, and it's the content that they're sharing with all the people that they're reaching out to. That's really what's changed, is that you can share information with people. They'll pick it up and they'll turn around and share it with other people as well. Or they'll come to the zoo, they'll experience that brand, and they'll turn around and share it with other people. And so you reach these audiences by delivering your brand and sending out your message and giving people something that they can talk about. That's not advertising. People don't share advertisements unless they're just killer, but they do
Yeah.
share content, right? Content marketing, to be able to turn around and share that is king, particularly with zoos. And zoos are, they're loaded with content. It's everywhere. So we really take a lot of advantage of that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And if you look at it over time, marketing and advertising used to be one thing, public relations used to be another thing, and they didn't really have much crossover. And I feel like social media has created this crossover event between marketing and public relations. Now those lines are much more blurred than they ever were before. And you find that materials that you write, content that you create, if it's effective enough, could generate even news media coverage. It can generate organic shares through social media and also be used in certain ad placements. And I think that's the first time that those worlds have intersected in such a seamless way. And I think it's smart that you as a zoo are looking at it that way and using earned media to kind of transcend all the different types of marketing, advertising, and public relations that are out there.
Yeah, I always I tend to forget that I wear two hats here, with marketing and public relations both, and they do at times they do have different focuses on things, right? Public relations has to protect the image, protect the brand, and to be able to put our best foot forward. Marketing can sometimes look at capitalizing on certain things. How can we push this to a higher level, and how can we get this to the next step, and what can we do to be able to fill this hole here? Whereas PR is really more about being the town crier and telling people um, the successes that we're having out of that.
Yep, absolutely. I I want to ask you another question about your time at the zoo. You've been there 20 years, and I wanted to ask just so people can kind of understand where you've been to where you've come. what type of visitation, as far as quantity of visitors, did you see 20 years ago versus the amount of people that you're pumping through the zoo today?
When I got here in '99, our annual visitation was about 300,000 people, and you got to keep in mind that the zoo, Nashville Zoo, is really kind of the new kid on the block. We didn't get this property until 1997, so it's still
Oh,
a
wow.
fairly new zoo. I like to tell people when I got here, the best exhibit we had was the backhoe, and 8-year-old boys would come from miles around to stare at that thing digging a hole in the ground all day long. And that's
Worth
really
the
that.
price of admission right there.
Right, yeah, and a playground, and that's kind of what drove a lot of our attendance. This past year, we topped 1 million people, so we're
Wow.
seeing a pretty healthy growth over the past 20 years, easily outpacing uh, the national average when it comes to zoos and aquariums and their growth. But that a lot of that has to do with the fact that Nashville really didn't have much of a zoo prior to 1997. So here's a fairly major city. If you're measuring it by TV station measures, it's like 30th, 32nd in the country, something like that in terms of size, TV market size. Um, Most cities the size of Nashville or larger have at least one zoo. Many of the larger cities have several, or Chicago's got two. New York has like, I don't know, like 500 or something. They have a ton of zoos up there in New York. So uh, yeah, it's unusual. So to be able to build into that market and attract guests really was a process of growing as well, growing into the community, and more people discovering that the zoo that's been growing all this time for the past 20 years right in their backyard is something that they need to start checking out.
That's great context for our listeners. And I know you've been listening to the podcast for a while. We focus on destinations and all the different businesses within a destination, but most of our listeners are DMOs. And so I'd love to hear a little bit about how you have worked with your local DMO in Nashville over time and how that relationship has evolved.
Sure. Yeah. The Nashville Convention and Visitors Corporation does our all the work for attracting people into the city, the lion's share of it. And they do a fantastic job. They have a brand that is dynamite, right? If you look at the Music City brand, it's solid, and they're doing a
Oh,
great
yeah.
job attracting people into town. The tourism for the past 5 to 6 years is just blowing numbers away with the amount of people that we're bringing into town. We have a brand new convention center that's massive, and they're doing a bang up job. They really are. And we have worked with them pretty steadily in the past. In the past few years, we've really ramped up our association with them, and we're working with them a lot more. I think a lot of that has to do with the zoo's growth and getting to a place where we're ready to start playing that game. For years and years, we were constantly building and constantly constructing, and we just didn't feel like we were ready to really start reaching out to a regional and national basis to say, hey, we're here, come and see us. We were focusing on the local market for years and years, just trying to make sure that people in Nashville knew we were here and had actually come out and checked out what we were doing. So the turn to the CVC has been gradual over the years, although we've always had this relationship with them. The CVC, because of its brand of Music City, um, has uh, has a persona, and they attract a certain persona of people that come in for that. Right? You, if you're if what you're putting out into the market is um, bars and bands and music and nightlife and food in that situation, you're going to attract the people that are looking for that when they come to town. And the
Right.
people that are looking for that when they come to town, um, there may be a crossover of those people that also like to go to zoos during the day, but it doesn't, the amount of families that come, which is our market bread and butter, are families with young children, children under the age of 12, and really it skews a little bit younger than that. There
Okay.
aren't a whole lot of families that are receiving that message as something that's desirable to attend. We still have families that attend, but overwhelmingly, the amount of people that are coming to Nashville are coming to Nashville to experience the downtown nightlife that's down
So I
there.
think
And
you're bringing up though, Jim, a really interesting point for destinations that have a zoo, because
right,
every destination has a brand,
yeah,
right? And very few of those destinations brands are centered around an attraction like a zoo. I think one of the most famous zoos in the country is the San Diego Zoo, right?
yep.
And I think they've done a lot of good things, but that's not part of San Diego's. I mean, it's part of San Diego's brand, but it's not a core piece of
No,
San
nor should
Diego.
it. Yeah, nor should it be. But there are destinations that focus on certain target markets, right? There are
Right.
destinations that focus on families, and there are destinations that focus on other audiences. Las Vegas is a great example of that. New
Yep.
Orleans is another great example of that. And New Orleans actually has kind of moved away from that Bourbon Street feel and vibe to offer a broader view of what New Orleans is about, right? Las Vegas at one point several years ago tried to move their brand into being a little more family friendly, and I'm not quite sure how that worked out for them, but I know they didn't stick with it very long.
Yeah, yeah,
So
we know they've moved back the other way, so I
right,
can't imagine it went great.
right. So if you're a family with young children and you're looking for a place to visit, you want to visit someplace new, Las Vegas probably isn't top on your mind because Las Vegas has a certain brand to it, and that's what you're expecting when you go there for that brand. So the message that you're sending, and that's who they are. I mean, you're delivering the brand that you are. You want to be able to reinforce to people that when you get there, this is what you're going to experience. That's been talked about several times in this podcast alone, is that when
Right.
you go, you should be reinforcing the brand that you're putting out there so people aren't disappointed, so they don't show up and go, this isn't what I saw in the ad or on the
Right, right.
website. Or yeah,
Dolly Parton's not singing in the middle of the zoo, right?
right.
Right.
Right, yeah, right, yeah. They're seeing people that are enjoying bands and enjoying the downtown nightlife, and that is what you're going to get when you get to Nashville. It's a great experience, and we have a lot of people that come down and enjoy something like that. It's just that the zoo, and really a lot of zoos across the country, are never going to be the poster child of those organizations, and that's
Right.
fine. It's fine for us to do that because we're still taking advantage of those assets of it, and it makes us look at opportunities in different ways. So we look at the ability to have more evening functions that serve alcohol so we can attract that group down a little bit more, or different things that are taking place here on grounds to try to get those people down. Beer festivals are a great example of that. Most of the zoos across the country now have a brew at the zoo, right? They have a beer festival at the zoo. And they do that because it attracts a new audience, a younger audience. 20 to 30 somethings are coming down. A lot of these people don't have children at this point, and they're coming down to enjoy the zoo. And they're just getting exposed to it, right? It's another touch point that we're giving people along the way who don't normally get a touch point for a zoo.
Yes. So I
Zoos,
think you're bringing up a critical point here, Jim, and I just want to make sure that I drive it home for our listeners. But you you could look at a zoo and a destination like Nashville, and you could say these are competing brands or these are completely different audiences. But what I love that you're saying that you've done is you've worked together with the brand to infuse, or with the destination to infuse brand elements into your product to make the experience more consistent with the brand. And I think that's a really great thing that you've done. Is that something that you collaborated a lot with the CVC on, or is that something that they brought to you? Or tell me kind of how that came to pass?
I wouldn't say it's something that they brought to us. It's really just more of a conversation that you have with the folks down there about how can we collaborate more together, and understanding the audiences that are coming in and what those audiences are looking for when they come in. You can't ask an organization that has been massively successful with establishing their brand to change their brand. It's just not feasible for us to do that, and we would never do that. So we have to work with them to deal with who's coming to the city and how we can best work with that situation. And that's when we start brainstorming about the different things that we might be able to do down here and work together on. We have a new event that's coming in November. That's a Chinese Lantern Festival, and it's going to be huge. It's the largest Chinese Lantern Festival in the country, and these lanterns are they're massive. They're not the kinds that you light on fire and that go up in the sky. These are ones that are 20, 30 feet high, and they're shaped like different traditional Chinese
Oh,
buildings.
wow.
There'll also be full-size animals. There'll be a full-size North Pole village with a train and reindeer and the whole 9 yards. And it's all created with um, steel wrapped in silk, and they're all colored silk, and it's all lit from the inside. Beautiful lanterns. So the CVC, found out we were doing this, and they said, "This is perfect. This is exactly what we're looking for. We need some evening activities for these folks to do, and we'd like to partner with you and some other light festivals that are in town to create these packages to try to draw people in." It also happens during a time of year that's a shoulder month for us and a shoulder month for the CVC. So it hit a need on their end and on our end to be able to push that out in a regional basis. And so they have the money and the wherewithal to be able to make an impact regionally and nationally to try to bring people in. And this is really the first time that we've been able to do something to this scale. Other times, they work with us on ticket packaging, and they work with us on lots of other elements to be able to get our word out. But our programs haven't been necessarily big enough to reach a regional or national audience to bring them in. They're looking more along the lines of a 4th of July festival that's downtown, and a New Year's Eve festival, and they have the CMA festival and Bonnaroo's out here, and that's the kind of stuff that's bringing people in from all over the country. So we're excited to be able to join that fray and really start to draw people in during the holiday season for this program.
Yeah, and I think what I love that you've done there is you identified a need that you had. The CVC was able to demonstrate to you that they share the same need. It's a shoulder season, right?
Yeah.
You guys both needed more traffic at the time, and so you brainstorm and create an event that benefits both of you. And I think that is exactly the type of collaboration that needs to happen for an attraction like a zoo to be supported, and to I mean, you're bringing 1 million visitors through that zoo every single year, and that's not a small number. And so you need that support, but it's the collaboration and brainstorming so that the needs can intersect. And I think that's going to generate a great result as far as continuing to collaborate and get results for both sides, and create future opportunities. It sounds like you guys have a great relationship with the CVC. What do you feel like the destinations that are listening to our podcast, what do you feel like they need to know as far as what zoos need, or even attractions within a destination need from the CVC or the DMO to be successful?
Well, I think it's the same kind of thing that we've been talking about, or I've been talking about with our CVC over the years. To understand that creating a brand for a destination is a process that the CVC needs to be able to solve. The DMO needs to be able to solve for that, and mixing that in. If everybody wants to be the highlight of that, but not everybody's going to be the highlight of that, and zoos in particular are not necessarily going to be the top attraction, because every zoo in every small town has a giraffe. So people aren't going to see that necessarily as a reason to come to a city. They want to develop a brand that's going to be much broader than that. But the zoos can work together with the DMOs to be able to make that develop out and make that happen a little bit more. Does that
Great.
answer the question?
It does. It
Maybe
does. I
not.
think. No, I think you did. It's to me the takeaway from what you said is that destinations have to understand where the intersection is between their brand and the brand of the attraction within, and try to intertwine those as much as possible. And that's going to require brainstorming on both sides, right?
Yeah, it really does, and it takes a lot of work. It might take some operational changes. It might take some addition of different events or even people to be able to make that happen. But to be able to work with them, give them the assets that they need. I know when I have had discussions with other DMOs, that's kind of the response that I get is, how is it that a zoo in your market can help you? And the answer that I usually get is make sure that we know everything that's happening at the zoo. Give us all of your events, give us as many images as you can, and we'll work them in. DMOs have the same um, communication tools as zoos do. They have all their social media as well that they have to fill, and they have to fill it with something that's going to reinforce their brand as well. So to be able to feed that information to the DMOs and get them that information is going to help both of you push messaging out that is equally beneficial.
What's your cadence for that? How often are you sending content over to the CVC?
Well, they're on our media list, so they get everything that we push out that way. They're all tied into our social media. They have access to a fairly sizable zoo image library. And I'm in email contact with one or two of the folks down there almost every single day. They have a total access program, which is kind of like you buy a pass for a certain amount of money, and you can use it to go to 3 or 4 different attractions within the city for that one price, and there's a whole list of attractions that you can choose from. So we participate in that, and that helps deliver the message a little bit more and keep us in contact as well. So we're in contact quite a bit with them in terms of providing information back and forth with that.
Great. Great. Do you mind if we do a little rapid fire section here where I'm going to ask you some questions about the zoo, maybe a little less about marketing? And do you mind if we do that? A few surprise questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Animal that is the biggest attraction for you guys.
Clouded leopard cubs.
Clouded leopard cubs. Okay, great.
Mhm.
Okay, craziest animal escape story you're allowed to tell us.
We had a cheetah escape back in 2001, and it was an all-day affair and a media circus.
Where did they find it?
It never left the zoo property
Oh, that's
because we're,
good.
we're kind of all fenced in here, and cheetahs can't really climb or dig, so it never really left the property. But man, we had SWAT teams out here in helicopters. It was fun.
Now, was it in like the deer pen or anything like that, or just kind of roaming around?
No, it's kind of a long story, but the zoo was just getting developed back then, so we had a lot of back property that was very overgrown, had very tall grass that had browned to the color of cheetah fur, and so it made it really difficult to find a cheetah that was in this tall grass. And so we had people that were out in the hot sun all day long, um, walking through these fields, and this cheetah would occasionally pop up and run and duck down someplace else, and they were finally able to surround it and dart it and get it back to where his home was.
Wow. Wow. Okay, animal that's the biggest pain in the butt.
Animal that's the biggest pain in the butt. Well, right now, I would probably dare to say we have this aardvark named Winsel that we're trying to leash train so we can walk him around the zoo and guests can kind of get a close encounter with him. And he does just not want to go for walks. He's just the laziest animal I think I've ever met.
That's great. I got to say, you did a great job of turning that question into something that's going to be a real curiosity for people to go see now.
Oh yeah.
This guy walking around the zoo,
Yeah.
or
And now,
not.
and now that I've told you that, they're like, Jim said on the radio that this guy's actually really lazy, and you'll probably see it. He'll be sitting down and laying down. You'll be like, come on, Winslow, just a little further.
That's great. Okay, my last question for you, and we're going to go back to marketing now. We're going to have a little less fun, I guess. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you feel like would be really beneficial for our listeners to hear?
Man, I may have to think about that one.
Well, we can do a follow-up on social with the answer to that question too.
Yeah.
So if you need some time to think about it, that's not a problem at all.
Yeah, let me think about it for a bit. I'm not sure I have a good answer for you on that one. I mean, we covered a lot of stuff here.
Yeah. No problem. Well, Jim, this has been a pleasure. I've really appreciated having you on. I appreciate you taking the time to join us and share a little bit of your knowledge that, in my opinion, is really going to benefit the destination marketers that listen to our podcast to continue to learn how to support really the stakeholders and the attractions within their destinations. Because in the end, that's what the destination is supposed to do is promote the entire destination and help all boats continue to rise in the tide. So thank you for your time.
Sure, yeah, I'm happy to do it.
Great. Well, reminder for everybody before we go, we have a LinkedIn group called Destination Marketers, and that's actually how I met Jim. Jim joined our LinkedIn group, and I was able to reach out to him through that group and get him here on the podcast. So I would love for any of you that are listening, please also request access to that LinkedIn group, and we would love to either get you on the podcast or have you share some knowledge that would benefit the group and continue to grow and learn together. So thanks, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.